The comeback was massive. Hello, world, and we are back. My name's Kyle Fischel, and this is going to be episode 55 of my poker vlog. And today, we are back to our usual vocation, playing 2-5, no limit Texas Hold'em at Orange City Racing and Card Club.
Oh, I just think it's an interesting choice of words. Vocation.
Well, what would you call it? A hobby? I'd say it's more than that.
For this vlog, I have a bit more live video periodically throughout it, but some hands I was not able to catch live, so there'll be a mixture of recap and live video. I will work on getting more live content going forward. I have a good number of hands to go over, so we're going to go right into it. First interesting hand. With one limper to me, I'm in middle position with ace king of hearts. I raise to $30. There's one late position caller and the limper calls as well. So we're going three ways to a flop. The flop is king queen 4 2 hearts, which is amazing. That is what you hope for when you play ace king of hearts. Well, the pre-flop limper leads out for $40 and it's on to me. I could and probably should raise here, but the fact that he limped and then let out kind of makes me weary of pocket fours and possibly king queen. I think he's pretty strong to lead out into me. I don't have too much information on this player, so I'm going to play this one a bit cautiously and just call for now. The late position player folds. The turn is an offsuit jack, and now my opponent leads into me again for $80 this time. This is a time where I am going to announce my hand strength and see where my opponent is. Thinking I have 12 nutted outs, as well as 3 aces, which I think would give me the best hand against king queen. Now's a good time to raise and represent a strong hand, as I could also represent ace 10 and 10-9. So I raised to $225, and my opponent calls pretty quickly, which I'm not very happy about. The river is a complete brick, so that's pretty horrible for me, but my opponent checks to me this time. Now, it's quite early in the session, and I don't have a lot of information about this player. So now it's the question of if I'm going to turn my hand into a bluff or take my showdown value. I think all sets are going to call anyway. That's kind of bad. I don't know if he has many two pairs besides exactly king queen, and exactly king queen I think calls as well. So the fact that I really don't think I get a fold even with a $400 jam, I decided to just check this one back and take my showdown value. Well, my opponent has king jack. He had a 2-outer because the jack of hearts would have still been a loser. So that was not very fun for me. And we start out this session losing a decent amount of money.
Where is the money?
I gave it to Ted.
So we add more US currency onto the table. We build our stack up a bit before the under the gun player, who is definitely a recreational player, doesn't quite know sizings well in my short time watching him. He under the gun raises to $10. There are no callers to me. I'm in middle position. I raise to $35 with queen jack of spades, as I'm having none of this min raising under the gun stuff. There is one late position caller and everyone else folds. So we're going three ways to a flop, which comes ace 7-6, 2 spades. Pretty good for my literal hand with a flush draw, and good for my perceived hand as a technically 3-better. So I should have most ace X's here, and most other people shouldn't have too many. So when the under the gun limp caller checks to me, I bet $75. Late position player folds, and the under the gun player decides he's gonna raise to $150. Min raises me, kind of odd, but with my flush draw and position, I think I can make this profitable long term by calling. So I call. The turn is the 8 of clubs. Preparing to call a bet, he checks to me instead. I want to build the pot in case my flush does hit. So I bet $250. He thinks for a bit of time before eventually calling. And the river is the queen of hearts. Not exactly the card that I want. He checks to me again. Now with this queen, I actually gain a bit of showdown value. Like, I beat pocket 9s and pocket 10s, which may put out a min raise under the gun, call, raise on that board, see where they are. Feel like they should continue when they make a straight draw. So I beat 2 hands and 2 hands only that I think would play this way. Being recreational, being that he has a massive stack size, I don't even think my $500-ish jam would get a fold a lot of the time if he has ace X. And he could even have ace queen and just be totally committed now, so I just check it back, and he has ace king. I am starting this game into the game for $1,900.
Look at the consequences. The stakes are very high.
But if you think that I can come back and make a massive profit, hit the subscribe button. It helps out the channel a ton, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. So next interesting hand. I button straddle as I'm deep in the hole and need to make something happen. The big blind calls the $10 and a middle position player calls as well. Before I look down at ace 10 of hearts. Definitely going to raise this one. I make it $50. Both players call, and we are going 3 ways to a flop, which comes king jack 4 all hearts.
Welcome, Deadpool boy!
Time to make the chimmy chongas.
Okay, finally made one of our flushes. And even better, the big blind leads out for $100. The middle position player folds and is back to me. Knowing that I have to get all the money in to be able to even get close to coming back to even on this session, I know I have to start building the pot right now. So I raised to 225, thinking that there's no way this guy would bet 100 and then fold for just 125 more, and building a pot so I can set up a turn jam. He calls very, very quickly, which gives me a lot of confidence. The turn is the 9 of spades, and he checks to me. I hope he has a smaller flush, and I'll even take some kind of set, but I'm all in. And now he doesn't call very quickly. He takes a long time, and I think that I just wasted a great opportunity by overplaying my hand. He eventually does decide to call. The bet was $595, and he had Jack 9 offsuit with 1 heart, turn 2 pair, kind of made him committed with a backdoor flush draw if, he thought that that was good. We had the goods, and the board was safe for us at the end. So get a massive, massive pot to bring us back to almost even, which is some very welcomed news.
These are short stacks. Damn.
The next interesting hand. It folds to me in middle position. I have king jack of spades. I raise to $20. The player directly to my left decides he's gonna 3-bet to $65. That is not great news. One of the blinds call for this price 3 ways. I'm going to call as well. So we're going 3 ways to a flop again, which comes king jack 3 2 clubs. Very, very good news. The blind checks to me. I think that this is a board that I should check raise a lot on, because a pre-flop 3-better should have most hands here. Ace king, king queen, pocket aces, ace queen of clubs, all kinds of stuff. This smacks a 3-better's range, and he should bet when checked to a lot. So I check to him. He decides he's going to check it back. Not a great sign, as I would like to get some money into this pot. Well, the turn is the king of hearts. It kind of puts my hand in jail, as if he has nothing, I really have the entire board locked up. With my hand's card removal, I have the literal nuts right now. Seems to be the only way I can win a hand. When the blind checks to me again, I decide to check again, hoping that a pre-flop 3-better must have something or start bluffing at this point. And he does not disappoint. He throws out a bet of $75. The blind folds and is back to me. Definitely gonna raise here, small again. I'm trying to get as much money as I can into this pot without giving him a bad price or the opportunity to fold, so I make it $175. He thinks for a bit of time before calling, so I'm less confident that he has a strong hand. The river is the 10 of clubs. I'm not gonna give this the chance to check through. He could have a flush, maybe has ace queen. Ace king would be wonderful. Any of these hands will pay me off. He only has $400 behind, so I think a full-on jam will make him very easy for him to fold, but I want to bet an amount that he's likely going to call, and if he has any of these hands, he's going to jam himself anyway. So I bet $250. He thinks for so long that they call the clock on him after like 4 or 5 minutes. Another player calls the clock. This player is taking a long time, just saying how it's never easy, how hard his decision is. I'm just praying that he calls. Like, please call, dude. I'm in the hole.
Please, sir. I want some more.
He eventually does call with pocket aces, with the ace of clubs. I'd say that's a very conservative check back on the king jack flop. That check may have saved him from getting stacked on that specific board. So good for that guy. Next interesting hand. The rec player from the Ace King versus Queen Jack hand is in early position and he makes it $15. I'm in middle position with Queen Jack of Hearts. Gonna make it work this time. I 3-bet to $50 thinking that I can utilize my position and newly found always having it image to hopefully win this now or actually pull off a successful bluff on later streets. One late position player calls, the pre-flop aggressor calls as well. So we are going 3 ways to a flop, which comes 10-7 deuce 2 hearts. The early position player leads out for 75. That's kind of interesting. As I have 2 overs and a flush draw, I think this should be a raise in general almost always, as you likely will have the best hand by the river. I have missed so many combo draws and regular draws so far that I think it's better just pot control and hopefully realize my equity for once. And to my surprise, the late position player calls as well. So we're going 3 ways to a turn card, which is a king of spades. The early position player checks to me. Ugh. I actually gained a combo draw, like a real one. Like, it's got to hit this time, right? It just has to. So I should bet here a lot of the time, but I think that it's better to realize my equity again, especially with the player behind me, which could have a wide range. Gonna check this one to the late position player and evaluate from there, and they check it behind. And we actually hit our card one time. We river a straight flush. Straight and a flush. So we hit it. Not the way I'd like to. A regular 9 would have been better, giving me the literal nuts being the only way I can win hands. The early position player bets $150. And now I have a decision to make. So I have third nut. There are many people in many situations where I would raise here for value and then just fold to a jam. But a recreational player who's really only had premiums is not the person I'm thinking about doing it. Additionally, the late position player behind me could easily have ace X of hearts and done the same thing, just try to realize their equity. So I'm not so certain that this should be a raise spot against 3 people. I don't know, comment below what you think. So I just call and the late position player snap folds. The pre-flop aggressor, he just shakes his head and doesn't say anything, and I kind of wanted to see as I paid. He said he was bluffing. He had ace 10, not even a heart blocker. Yeah, he was not going to call a raise, so results oriented, my call was just fine in this specific spot. A final hand of note. With 1 limper to me, I raised to $50 as this game is playing very, very big as stacks are deep and the night wore on. With ace jack of diamonds. Only the limper calls, so we're going heads up to a flop, which flops me a straight. That's good. Hopefully my opponent has something. I bet $75. My opponent calls very, very quickly, and we're off to a turn, which is a king of diamonds. Gives me a, gut royal draw for a $500 high hand bonus if it hit, but honestly very unhappy with this card as many full houses get there, and if my opponent has one, I'm drawing to 1 single out. When he checks to me, I'll do a conservative check back to pot control and possibly make my own price on the river. The river is the 9 of hearts, and my opponent bets $100. I think my opponent has a lot of full houses that are possible and very few hands that could call a raise here, so I just call, and he had jack 7 offsuit. So maybe one of those hands that would have called a raise possibly missed out on some value, but we will take it. So after the early missteps, as well as a lot of whiffing, we were into the game for $1,900, out of the game for $3,080, because it took us a while to get back to even. We're there for 10 hours, equating to $118 an hour, or 23 big blinds an hour. So we're back on track. It was a good session. We had some good results. The vlogs will continue. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and there will be more to come next week. Thank you.